If you pump fed, it'll be before your filter. If you're gravity fed, it's going to be after. Really, it's kind of irrelevant where it is, so long as it is in that pipeline and installed correctly. So, yeah, no issues there. Or depending on your system, you can have it. I mean, there's all kinds of different UVs. Japan just have them where they shine on the water, sat above. You've got the ones that obviously shine on the water that fit into drums, although that's a bit more enclosed than the Japanese ones. Then, yeah, if it's an external unit, it's going to be based on whether you pump or gravity fed. Pump fed will be before you filter. Gravity fed will be after. I've got both scenarios and you get the same performance out of the UV. The most important things with your UV is to ensure that you maintain it. Your bulbs, realistically, your standard bulbs, you want to change every 6 months for maximum performance on them. The things will light up forever and a day, but you don't often get the proper performance from them after 6 months. And when you change your bulb, be careful with it because quartz sleeves are pricey, but it's always a good idea to strip your unit down and clean your quartz sleeve, because that is what your bulb has to shine through to hit the water, and those things get in a right shitty state. So what you could find is you've got a bulb in there blaring away, but it's shining through a thick wall of algae and doing absolutely nothing. So yes, there we go. It feels like my old shop days going on about that one. Ooh, that's a good question. Hi, Ricky. Are there any varieties that haven't been around for a while that you would like to see make a comeback? Oh, I might need a minute on that one. Yeah, actually, while that one's burning away in the back of my brain, there was me and Chris were speaking about this in one of the podcasts we did last week, I think it was, whichever one it was, the first one back, kind of, trending varieties. And it did slip me at the time, but yeah, there is a massive one at the minute for Ginrin. And I'm not even going to say Ginrin Showa. I mean, I love Ginrin Showa, but Ginrin Sankey and Ginrin Kohaku have gone mad. And I mean, absolutely mad. Anybody who seems to be breeding Sankey or Kohaku at the minute is making a Ginrin variant. Years back, you struggled getting them. That industry and that market became dominated. I mean, Momotaro took a massive foothold in it. Momotaro is really still the truest jumbo Ginrin lineage out there. Phenomenal, but there is some cracking ones coming on. Mariyama, for example. I've even seen Nogami's doing it now. Literally everybody. And Ginrin Sankey literally went from, I remember having the conversation about, liking them so much, but them being so difficult to get. Again, now everybody's at it. So I think you're going to probably, get to the point where you're going to see a lot of them soon. They're commanding pretty big money as well. I mean, because they're coming from pretty big hitting breeders. And generally, when they do any variants, the demand is always really, really high. But yeah, any varieties I like to make a comeback. To be honest with you, and just as I've been on about it, and that's just hit me, I've not seen a lot of Deutsch Karashi going for a long time. I know Marido still got them there, had the toe side this year, but there was a phase where there was a lot of them around. Yamazaki, Marido, Mariju. Kinishi's always got a few, but Kinishi fish are generally very hard to get hold of. Extremely pricey is Karashigoi. And I just find them, for me, a stunning variety, especially when they get the size. Interestingly, Harawaki was a conversation we've had recently, whereas there was a time where, if you could have got 3,000 Harawaki, you'd have sold them in a week. You just could never get them. And now it seems to be the end of demand, and popularity of them has just dropped off no end, to be honest. But yeah, off the top of my head, and something might hit me in a bit, but I would say realistically, that is one that, I've seen kind of fizzle out and go away. But generally, there's probably more choice of variety than ever at the minute, really, which is exciting for the koi scene, and loads of new varieties that keep cropping up as well. Right, I'm going to get one more question, and then we're going to get stuck into this Shirosori stuff. There's nearly 200 of you tuned in again, which is amazing, folks. Do appreciate that. Right, Kevin. Do air stones for aeration have to be in the pond, or will it make no difference if the air stones are in the filter for a smaller koi pond? That will make absolutely no difference. Now, I think there's a common myth that if you put the air stone in the filter, all that aeration will just be consumed by the filter before it gets to the pond. It's not true. I don't know all the science behind it, but it was explained to me by Jasper EA again once upon a time that actually fluid beds can be one of the most efficient aerators in water for actually getting oxygen content into water, which blew my mind at the time. Like I say, I don't fully know the science behind it. There was an optimal depth and a few other bits, But in my 1,200 gallon ponds, that greenhouse, we don't aerate in the ponds whatsoever. All the aeration is driven through the fluid bed and the spray bar return, which will act as surface agitation, aeration, and there is a lot of surface movement in there and degassing. So so long as you get in the volume of aeration in, it doesn't matter necessarily if it's in the pond. What will aid you in the pond is obviously it gets you some circulation around and some movement in there, which will be beneficial. That's why it's worth, if you're not aerating the pond and aerating the filter, look at what returns you've got actually going in